Hello, my name is Ashley. This is my Journal 5 video. Um, so I went ahead and I listed out the questions that we are supposed to consider as we review the 10 practical suggestions offered by Miller, written in 2012, his textbook Fundamentals of Crisis Counseling, which the reference is down below to the left. In the textbook by Miller 2012, again, he provides the 10 practical suggestions for counseling. I went on and I went through and I considered which ones I was already using in my practice within my internship with my clients. And I felt really confident that I do provide a safe and confidential space for my clients, whether that be via telehealth clients or even the clients I see within the nonprofit that I am seeing clients through. I also work really hard to be genuine, honest, direct, and firm in communication with my clients. Sometimes it's difficult because people don't want to hear what you have to say sometimes, or more accurately, they don't want to face maybe the truths that they are trying to avoid. I also find it very important to collaborate with my clients, specifically in goal setting. This is something that I feel if the client can, if the goal is their idea, if the client feels connected to the goal, they are more likely to work towards it. Determine with the client direct actions and indirect actions that can be taken. Again, I like to identify the client's maybe areas of need and try to work with them on how do we accomplish this need? Can we directly face it? Do we need to take an indirect approach to whatever this need may be? So that is something that I work hard to identify with my clients. And then additionally, I like to examine social, cultural, and environmental factors that can be impacting said crisis. So a lot of the times in my intake session, I spend time going over the legal stuff, and then I also take a lot of time just to ask them about their lives, their personal relationships, things that elaboration on things that they write in their intake forms, so on and so forth, because I do like to get an idea of what their environment is like, what their socioeconomic status is like, what their just everyday stressors look like. And this can give us a lot of insight also into how they are handling or would handle a crisis in their future. The next question is how would I incorporate or plan to incorporate these suggestions? I kind of went over that already. But ultimately just to kind of recap that, I like to really just make the counseling session about the client. I really think it's important to focus on the client. The client is there for them. We are there for them as counselors. And so I like to make the session relevant to the client's life. Obviously, at no time do I want to make the session about myself or about my own stories or experiences or anything along those lines. My next question is which suggestions are new or ones that I may want to enhance within my practice? Ones that were kind of new to me is draw the client out of isolation into human community by establishing a therapeutic relationship that can be generalized to other relationships. And this means like modeling appropriate behaviors that they can take from the counseling session and try to incorporate it into their lives. So, for example, healthy communication with me may give them practice so that they can go home and have healthy communication with their family members, things like that. I have considered this before, but it's not something that I don't know that I make it very obvious to the client that that's what I'm doing. And so if I'm able to make that apparent, like, hey, I'm showing you this, or I'm talking to you this way so that you can take this and practice it at home, the client may really benefit from such a thing. Next would be determine how much the client is willing to change. This isn't really a conversation I've had explicitly with a client. I feel like participation in counseling is already a big indicator of their willingness to change or make an effort. It's definitely the first step. But perhaps a conversation about, okay, what are we actually willing to do here? What do we need to do would be hugely beneficial. And determine resources needed for therapy and emotional growth. I do my own research on sessions and techniques and approaches, things like that before my client sessions. However, I do think I and my clients could definitely benefit from me doing research more geared toward resources for the client rather than resources for me to use with the client. So that's definitely something that I would like to incorporate as well. Again, kind of discussed the next one already. What is your plan for incorporating these new suggestions into your practice? I think just effort, practice, time, experience, just making an effort to maybe make myself a little uncomfortable, push myself out of my comfort zone that I've already created through practicum and internship. I know what I like to do. I know what I feel works for my clients. And so maybe stepping outside of that box just a little bit to see if I can improve my approach. The next question is, how do these suggestions shift when you're comparing a general counseling session to that of a crisis counseling session? I think that the priorities shift quite a bit because during crisis counseling, an individual who's gone through a crisis is dysregulated. They may feel unsafe. They may feel afraid. So I think it's really important ultimately to make sure that they feel safe in the session. They know that they are protected, that their confidentiality is protected as much as possible. Let's see. I also feel that it becomes vital that there are additional resources the client has access to within the community during and after counseling. And so by this I mean that that suggestion really does, I need to be better about having those resources on hand, because I do think support, resources, community, all of those things help after a crisis while someone is healing, while someone is re-regulating to their new normal or whatever it may be. And then definitely I want to be an anchor of support while the client is working again to get their mind and body re-regulated, get them used to, maybe not used to, but work through the crisis, the trauma, whatever it may be, so that they can come back from it stronger and ready to work and be healthy as an individual going forward.